呢39岁，硕士研究生毕业，至今呢未婚未育，算是高质量的大龄剩女。很多人呢都会问我，那你工作稳定，收入可观，是不是即便没有结婚也不会焦虑？其实呢不是的，我说实话，我挺焦虑的，尤其是35岁以后吧，我觉得我的焦虑都已经达到了顶峰。我发现我的择偶标准越高呢，我的相亲对象质量反而越差。我的择偶标准呢是彩礼58万，男方呢要有车有房有存款，房子呢一定得在市中心，男方存款呢不少于200万，这样呢能够保证我们婚后的话衣食无忧。但是这些年来相亲的那些对象呢，跟这个条件真的是相差甚远，都是一些大专毕业的，年薪3、4万，然后本科毕业的年薪5、6万。这些人呢，他在市中心根本就买不起房，而且呢存款很多人呢都是月光族，几乎都没有存款。甚至相亲的一些40多岁的男士，他都快要步入晚年了，他还是没有存款。而且呢有一些是有短暂婚史的，这都已经算是好的了。还有一些呢是离异带娃的。当媒人给我介绍这些对象的时候呢，真的是让我陷入了自相的矛盾。一方面呢，我想着要尽快的脱单，另一方面呢，遇到的人啊，各方面的条件真的是太差了。想着自己呢都已经坚持了那么些年，如果随随便便的就找一个人嫁了呢，真的太不应该了。我觉得呢，其实2个人的话肯定要三观一致，然后呢条件旗鼓相当，有共同的奋斗目标，在一块结婚呢才能够幸福。强扭的瓜那它肯定不甜，勉强在一起呢也不会有幸福。所以大龄剩女的现状呢，就是带着焦虑，但是呢又继续的寻找着，等待着，不愿意将就。
我今年38岁，然后吃饭的时候，我跟他提出了这5个要求，他直接给我给拒了。
I'm already 38 years old. A few days ago, someone introduced me to a potential match for a blind date, so I went. During the meal, I directly laid out my 5 requirements for marriage. What happened? He rejected me on the spot. Afterwards, he even went to complain to the matchmaker, saying my demands were too high. The matchmaker also told me, your conditions are indeed not low. But I really don't think these demands are high. Today, I'm going to list all 5 of my conditions and let everyone judge. Tell me, am I really being unreasonable? First, the bride price must be 380,000 yuan. And after marriage, the man must be home before 10 p.m. every night. If within 1 month, he comes home later than 10 p.m. more than 5 times, then we'll part ways peacefully, but the bride price will not be refunded. Second, if he cheats after we get married, if he has another woman out there, no matter the reason, we will immediately divorce peacefully. The bride price stays with me, and he must also pay me an additional 100,000 yuan as emotional compensation. Third, if his mother falls ill and needs care, sorry, I'm not obligated to do that. Those are his parents, so he should be the one to take care of them. If he insists on making me take care of his parents, that's simple, we'll divorce peacefully, and the bride price won't be refunded. He can do whatever he wants. Fourth, after marriage, the man's salary must be handed over. Each month, I will only leave him 1,000 yuan as pocket money. If he refuses to turn in his salary, then our marriage cannot continue. Same as always, we'll part ways peacefully, and the bride price stays with me. Fifth, I don't like visiting relatives or being social. If I don't want to meet his relatives or friends, then don't force me. If he insists, we'll divorce peacefully, and the bride price still won't be refunded. These are the 5 conditions I laid out. Nothing more, no additional clauses. And yet, after hearing this, he flat out rejected me. Over the years, I've gone on many blind dates. And many men, after hearing these same requirements, also walked away one by one, saying my standards are too harsh. But I truly don't think there's anything harsh about these standards. These clauses, at their core, are meant to protect the basic rights of women after marriage. They're about providing at least some sense of security and respect. If a man can't even meet these minimums, then what's the point of marriage? What is he even doing trying to marry? It's laughable, really. He's not the only man on earth. There are plenty more where he came from.
今天呢，我就跟大家说实话，为什么我们大龄剩女不着急结婚？
Today, I want to speak to you honestly. Why we, as leftover women of advanced age, are in no rush to get married. I'm already 39 years old this year, with a doctoral degree, what people call a high-quality leftover woman. So why are we still unmarried? The reason is actually quite simple: we're too outstanding. To put it bluntly, there simply aren't enough men on the market who are good enough to truly match us. To be honest, we women are actually quite pitiful. Just listen to what I say next, and you'll understand. First of all, after getting married, as a woman, you can't inherit your own family's property, and the in-laws' property? That has nothing to do with you either, let alone truly owning or having a say in it. Then, you still have to bear the pressure of childbirth. But the child? Can't take the mother's surname. And then? After the child is born, the responsibility for care and education usually also falls on you. At the same time, you must also remain financially independent. Because this society is just that realistic: if you don't make money, if you're not independent, you'll quickly be looked down upon. And the most ironic part is, if one day the marriage falls apart, regardless of whether it's your fault or not, you'll most likely be labeled as someone who abandoned her husband and child. After working so hard for so many years, in the end, you still end up with nothing. It's exactly because we've seen through all of this that our generation of older leftover women throws ourselves into studying and further education. Striving for academic degrees is not about showing off, but about equipping ourselves with stronger survival skills and better self-protection. Unfortunately, many of you men don't understand this. On the contrary, you mock us for being too educated, for having too many demands, for being too picky and hard to get along with. But you have no idea what a 39-year-old woman has gone through to make it to this point. It's not that we don't want to get married. We just refuse to marry someone unworthy. Only excellent men are a match for us. Our excellence is something we earned, bit by bit, through effort. So why, when it comes to marriage, are we expected to stay home and take care of children?
先看到一个视频啊，这个大龄剩女啊是这么说的，跟你们说一下吧。
Today, I saw a video of a leftover woman speaking on camera about why she's not getting married. She spoke very bluntly. Do you know why we leftover women aren't rushing into marriage? Because we're simply not in a hurry. She introduced herself, saying she's 39 years old, has a master's degree, and is what people call a high-quality leftover woman. She believes that the kind of excellent unmarried men who could match women like her have basically disappeared from the marriage market. At this point, I felt she might have a bit of self-awareness. She continued, actually, in today's society, women are really quite pitiful. Think about it. After getting married, you can't inherit your parents' assets, and you're not entitled to any of your in-laws' property either. Then you have to give birth, and after that, you're the one who has to raise the child. You still have to be financially independent, or people will look down on you. And if you unfortunately get divorced, you'll likely end up being called someone who abandons husband and child, and you'll be left with nothing. She grew more and more emotional as she spoke, saying that this is why more and more women are desperately pursuing higher education, not to show off, but to gain the confidence and security to survive in this world. She asked the men, "What gives you the right to mock highly educated women like us? So what if we're 39 and don't want to settle? We've clearly seen through the illusion of marriage and don't want to compromise. How is that wrong?" She said, "After all the effort we've put in to become outstanding individuals, are we only meant to return to the home and raise children? Is that fair?" After hearing what she said, I do think she made a few valid points. But her perspective really only applies to some people. For example, when she said that if you don't make money after marriage, you'll be looked down upon, I completely disagree. I'm married and stay at home to take care of my kids, but I've never felt looked down upon. Being a full-time mom is also a kind of career. It's a different form of responsibility and dedication. What I want to say is, a lot of the time it's not that others truly look down on you, it's that you look down on yourself, and that's where the sense of self-denial comes from. As for me, I've never felt others look down on me. So what if I stay home and raise kids? So what if I don't earn money? Does being a full-time mom mean you deserve to be disrespected? When the child is 3 or 4 years old, you can always go back to work. Getting married, having children, raising them, this is just a phase of life, and it's also a unique and beautiful experience for women. Why does marriage always have to be seen in such a negative light? Why can't we look at family life from a different perspective? Why can't we imagine a marriage where you and your husband walk hand in hand, understanding and supporting each other, raising children together? Isn't that a stage of life worth being proud of and cherishing? So what I want to say is, once a woman chooses to get married, she needs to adjust her mindset. You can't think like a single person anymore, always only considering yourself. And if you really don't want to get married, that's totally fine. Saying, better to stay single than settle is not wrong. But please don't always speak of marriage as if it's nothing but a nightmare. If you've never even experienced it, how can you be so sure it will definitely be bad?
我呢，就是大众眼中所谓的大龄剩女，今年38岁了。
Today, I want to share something from the bottom of my heart. To be honest, I'm exactly the kind of leftover woman that people often talk about. I'm already 38 years old this year. Because I haven't gotten married since graduating with my master's degree, in the eyes of many ordinary people, a woman like me who's still single at this age is automatically labeled as a leftover woman. But in fact, there are different kinds of leftover women. I think they should be divided into two types. One type is the truly disadvantaged ones in the marriage market, and the other is someone like me, who is doing quite well in all aspects and belongs to the category of a high-quality leftover woman. So the reason I'm still single today is not because I've never tried, nor because no one has introduced anyone to me, but because I haven't met the person who truly matches me. At the end of the day, the reason I'm still single is actually quite simple. Ultimately, it might just be because my own overall conditions are too good, which makes it difficult to find someone who can truly match me. So before I meet someone who genuinely makes me willing, I won't compromise easily, and I don't want to settle. Moreover, I've noticed that many of the men around me are really superficial. When it comes to choosing a partner, their focus is incredibly shallow. They only care about a woman's age and appearance, and pay zero attention to her inner qualities, abilities, or depth of thought. They don't care how well educated you are or how capable you are. As long as you're 38, they think you no longer have any residual value in the marriage market. So they'll harshly belittle you without hesitation, saying you're old, that you can't have children anymore, as if you've already been stamped with the label expired. But I've always stood by one belief. If I'm going to get married, then it has to be a marriage with value and dignity. For example, I ask for a bride price of 800,000 yuan. This is not some outrageous demand, but what I believe to be reasonable and justified. After all, it was my parents who raised me with so much effort from childhood. They spent so much money supporting my education, from primary school to middle school, then all the way through my bachelor's degree to my master's graduation. Throughout all those years, the time, money, and energy they invested, aren't those all weighty and priceless? So, I believe the bride price is simply a fair return for their years of effort. After all, no one wants to do a deal at a loss, right? But the problem now is, the men that matchmakers introduce to me are either divorced, or they already have children. When I hear those conditions, I honestly feel pretty uncomfortable. This would be my first marriage. Why should I accept a man who's already been married, or even comes with kids? To me, that feels like a kind of disguised degradation, even a form of disrespect. I don't want to take on the mess left by someone else's past marriage, and I certainly don't want to become a stepmother without any preparation. When it comes down to it, I really don't understand what's going on with today's marriage market. According to the data, there are more than 30 million single men in China who can't find a partner. So why is it that a high-quality woman like me at 38 still has no chance? Maybe it really is just that fate hasn't arrived yet. When I say, I'm not in a hurry, I'm actually lying. So I still choose to wait, because I believe that one day, the man who satisfies me in every way, he will definitely appear.
I saw a piece of news. According to the latest statistics, in one of China's largest cities, Shanghai, the number of leftover women of advanced age has surpassed 800,000, among which over 500,000 are high-quality leftover women aged over 40. Actually, for this group of women, there's a high probability that they are destined to grow old alone, because they all share the following characteristics. They don't hold a Shanghai local hukou, official family record, have high incomes, but still can't afford to buy a home in Shanghai. They have broad horizons, and in their younger years had interactions with many outstanding and successful men. Their standard of living is relatively high. They all hold a better to have none than to settle for less attitude toward marriage. This kind of woman is almost doomed to never find a partner because they absolutely look down on ordinary men. And the kind of outstanding and successful men they fancy would never choose a woman around 40 years old. If the man comes from a well-off family, then his parents would definitely not agree to let their son marry a woman in her 40s. Although these leftover women have always held on to their high standards in choosing a spouse, fantasizing that one day they'll meet their true Mr. Right, the reality of the marriage and dating market is just that brutal and unforgiving. From the current reality of China's dating market, almost all high-quality men have strict age requirements for their partner. That kind of fairy tale where a prince falls in love with a Cinderella only exists in TV dramas. What do you think about the situation of these high-quality leftover women? Do you believe they still have a chance at finding love? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and follow me. See you in the next video.